Hello, everyone. I'm Val Plisick from the Rewind Reuse Center in Export, and this is our first Senior Craft Zoom meeting. Very happily, we're going to try to do 6 projects with you over the next 6 months. This first one is learning how to make a centerpiece using very basic reusable silk flowers and dried materials. A couple of things came your way. You got a bag of dried or silk materials. You got a container that looks similar to this that is usable for a horizontal. You got a piece of Oasis, and that Oasis can be glued down. I sent with you a bottle of tacky glue. You can snip the top and put tacky glue in the bottom and glue that down into your container. That will hold it very steady. Mine's going to be a little wiggly because I've been using these pieces of Oasis over and over again. If you were using Sahara, which is the dry form of this, that also can be glued down, and it feels a little more like styrofoam than this soft does. Oasis can be used with fresh flowers and water can be added to it, but for this purpose, it can be used as a dry base as well. The other thing I sent you was a cheat sheet for 4 basic designs. I'm going to explain all 4 of them to you, and then we're going to focus on this bottom one, which is a horizontal design, which goes really well in this container. First things first, I'm going to explain what these different designs look like using my props, and hopefully this will be pretty easy to understand. So the first one in the top left corner is called a pyramid, and this would be our first big flower, and we would want 2 more flowers all about the same height. So in your packet, you'll see there are white flowers, red flowers, greenery, ivy. Everybody's is different. Some flowers are yellow, some are orange, it doesn't matter. But sometimes people like to keep it balanced, and I'll explain that as I go through the design. So the first one is the one that we put dead center. With a pyramid design, you can look at it from all angles, but most of the time it's too high to put in the middle of a table when you're having a dinner party or something. So it's more of something that you'll sit back and have like maybe a wall behind it or have it on a buffet table, something like that. The other 2 flowers that are equal in height will go on either side. And there you will see that pyramid. And that's why it's called a pyramid design. Now in between, we're going to add flowers as well. And I'm going to make each of these in real flowers as well, but I'm going to show you the basics of the design. The second one that you go over here to the left is called a vertical. And a vertical is something that you want to be able to see 3 different levels of flowers. So most verticals can be seen on both sides as well. So we want to have one very, very tall flower. Then we want to have one that's a little shorter. And then we want to have a really small one. And that smaller one can be in the front or the back or the side. But the idea is that when you look at the arrangement, you're going to see 3 different levels. The next one, as you drop down here at the bottom, is called the L shape. And that's exactly what it is. It is 2 that are pretty equal in size, and you're making an L. So you can go this direction as an L, or you can do this direction as an L. But either way, you are noticing that the L is in the arrangement. And obviously, we'll be putting flowers in between. And then last but not least, the one that we're going to focus on today is what we call a horizontal. And the reason we call it a horizontal is because it's low and flat. And if you're at a dinner party, I can talk to you across those flowers and it won't bother our conversation. We have a piece of Oasis here, and ideally we would take 4 flowers that are pretty close in size. We would put them in each one of the corners. Oops, sorry, this is loose. And we would make a diagonal. So we have a line that goes from one corner to the other corner. And then we would do the same thing on the other direction. And there's our X. X marks the spot. So the idea is that it would be low and flat, and then we would add some flowers in the middle. So let's get started doing some things with flowers. So first of all, you have your oasis glued down. And the most important piece to that is if it's a little wiggly, it's not a big deal. But if you have it on a table or somebody knocks it and you don't have that glued in, your flowers are going to go flying. It probably won't hurt the arrangement that much, but it will be loose and harder to see. So the first thing I want to do is I want to put my flowers in the corners. So I found 2 white ones. I'm going to put one in the front and one in the back, making our diagonal line. This one's a little crooked. There we go. And then I want to do 2 different flowers, and I'm going to go in the other corners, and I'm going to go in. Now you can see the X is much smaller. It's narrow and it's close. And you'll see that this flower has a leaf, and that leaf gives a little more fullness. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to worry about our middle. And ideally 3 or 4 small flowers across the middle. So we're going to put one there, and we're going to put one in the center. Whoops, that kind of bent. Doesn't want to cooperate right now. And then we're going to put one on the outside. So these are what we call our accent flowers in the middle. And as you see, they're very low, so you and I could still talk over them. Then next to it, we want to make sure that we have something filler. So in your packet, you'll see either fake pine or eucalyptus looking or some kind of greenery that will help fill in the gaps. And so because I have 3 in the middle, I'm going to put 1 on the side and 1 on the other side. And then I'm going to fill in the middle to give it some height, but I'm going to push it down in so it doesn't go much higher than what's there. And I'm going to put 1 in the front and then 1 in the back. There we go. So now you don't see the stems of those flowers very much, and that makes it look a little nicer. The other thing you have in your packet are different kinds of wheat. And there's pink, there's brown, there's natural. The thing that's nice about them is they have very sturdy stalks, and you can go right inside next to the flowers that you put in the center and give it a little more body. Just got to find the right spot. Oh, that one broke. I have to do another one. There we go. I have to get one more pink one because I want to stick to the same color. And I'll show you why in a minute. So again, they're still low and even, and it looks nice. Now, I only have 3 left of the cream ones, but I really like these, so I want to put them in the center as well. So I'm going to trim them down a little bit, and I'm going to put them right side by side next to the ones I've already put, just giving a little more fullness. There we go. There we go. So now we have a nice full middle. Now we have to worry about all this yucky oasis that's there in the front. And we don't want that oasis to show. So I'm going to look for some flowers that have a little bit of body to them. And ideally, you have something that has leaves on them. So you want to go right into the front and into the center, and you want to push way down in, which covers up a lot of our oasis, doesn't it? And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And if I didn't say this, I'll say it now. If any of these flowers are too big or too small, you can either cut them with scissors and bend them back and forth because they have wire, or if they're made of plastic, they'll easily cut with scissors. I have to remember to I borrowed these wonderful wire cutters from the center here, so I want to remember to give them back and not walk off with them, which I'm pretty good at doing. All right, so on the front side, we have 2 orange, and now we need another orange in the back because it's kind of droopy. Now, the other thing that's really kind of fun to do, and you have lots of it in your packet, is ivy. And ivy is really good because it does cover up a lot of stuff. And these smaller leaves that are multiple leaves, they look really nice when you put them between the middle section and the bottom. And it's kind of nice when they're variegated because if you're using white flowers, that fills in really nicely. Now, some of the leaves are really, really big, and obviously they can cover up too much. So we'll want to make sure that we just cut those off and use just the stems. And we can push them in right at the bottom by the bottom of the container, and I'll show it to you in a minute here after I get these in. See, it fills in really nice and covers up that oasis. And at this point, our only spots of oasis that I see is over here on the side. I'm going to try to get one more flower in there that matches the one that's already there, and I think we're good. It's also fun to do things like use leaves that have like acorns or pine cones or things attached, because it just gives you a little more body to it. Or berries. Berries are fun. The other thing that you'll find in your kit are these kind of Christmas balls, and they come in all different colors. Everybody got different. Whatever I had, I used. But if you just put 1 or 2 of those around, that kind of gives it a more festive look. And then the other thing we can add is, I'm sure, like me, you have many things in your house that came out of other arrangements, and you thought, oh, these are too pretty, I don't want to throw them away. So you can take things like that are sparkly or pieces of ribbon, and I'll show you that in a minute, and they can go right in your arrangement just to give it a little more flair. And then after Christmas, when you're tired of it, you just take it out, and it won't, and nobody will think anything different of it. The other thing, as I said, is do a bow. So you can take ribbon and tie it onto a piece of wire and then just put it right down in there as well. And the bow will look really pretty, just something light. It doesn't, when you're working with a small centerpiece like this, just remember, don't overwhelm it with a big bow. Do something gentle and little. All right, so that's our horizontal. I'm going to set it down here. Then we're going to show you some others. So horizontal, now let's go back to the L shape, because that's kind of a simple one that's easy to find. The L shape is exactly what I said. You're going to do a tall, big flower, and then you're going to do a side flower. So we see the shape of an L, right? Now, in this one, you have these cute things that go to the side. That's all well and good, but you still need to fill in here in the middle. In this case, I'm going to use a multi-string of some fall leaves, which I will put right down in the middle like that. And I have some other ones I'll put right next to it. So again, you still see the L. And so our next job would be to fill in all of this around by using different stems or things that have leaves like this. Because you don't want to show that oasis again. Remember, we want to cover it up. And then it's nice to put variegated leaves in between so that's not all the one color. So that's a very simple arrangement, but it's really pretty. And the other thing you can do with a piece of ribbon, if you don't have like enough to do a whole bow, you can just take a swatch of ribbon, tie it, cut it in like a nice design, Now this one's a little bit too long, so I'm going to trim it down a little bit. Because we don't want the ribbon to overshadow the arrangement. And we would put that right in there with the arranging. And it just gives it a little flair. And obviously there would be more greens. Like I would want to put another piece of ivy here. And I'd probably want a piece of ivy in the back, just because I want this to look full. And you can always twist your leaves too. The nice thing about silk leaves that have wire in them, you can flip them around and they look really nice. Now, if we were taking this arrangement and we were making it into a pyramid, the only thing we would have to do is get a flower that's as tall as this one and go out on the side. So a pyramid would be the same arrangement, and then we just would have to put something here. This doesn't match, but you get the idea. Something that would fit in the middle of that, and there you have, I'll move this away so you can see it. So it has the pyramid design. Even though it had an L, now it's a pyramid. And last but not least, well, let's talk about the vertical, which is 3 different sizes. So we're going to start with this big tall one again, because these tall ones really do, you notice them so much more. So that's your first level. And then we would do, excuse me 1 minute, there you go. Then we would do a second layer, and we would push it, and it doesn't have to be right in the same spot, it can be somewhere else. So this is level 1, level 2, and last but not least, we're going to do level 3, and we're going to put it right down here in the front, and it's going to stay lower than the second level. And I have to push this way down in to get this the right way. So the white level is the 3rd level. So we have 1, 2, 3 levels. The problem is now we have these 3 levels, we have to fill in the rest of the arrangement. So we're going to add some leaves at the 1st level. The other thing you can do is you can take something like an apple, an acorn, or whatever, and you can glue it to a stick or just puncture it if it's made out of, and you can add that to one of your levels and make that your 3rd level as well. And then we would want to fill in the rest of the way around here. Now, ideally, the flower colors are not going to all be the same, but if you were working with your flowers with one arrangement, you would have plenty. And again, we want nothing to, the tallest is the 1st, this is the 2nd level, and then that lower level is right there. The other thing that was in your packet could have been what they call palm leaves. They look very waxy. They're used like in aquariums and things. You can get them at the dollar store, but they're really nice to fill in between when you want to cover up that oasis. And again, you have your 1st level, you have your 2nd level, and you have your 3rd level. Now, if you wanted this arrangement to be seen on the back side, it's kind of boring with all that green, so you probably would want to add a flower back there. And usually you try to keep it like there's white in the front, we'll put white in the back, but we'll keep it at that low, low level so that it is still level 1, level 2, and level 3. And we have some more wheat, so I'm going to add that to our 2nd level to make it a little stronger. So now you can see level 1, level 2, level 3. and it's really very, very obvious. So in review, we have our pyramid or our L shape, depending on what you want to do. We have our vertical, which is 1, 2, 3 levels. And then we have our horizontal, which is our 2 using your containers. Put this one up a little higher. There, you can see that better in there. Turn these useful containers, we'll show them all. So look how different those are, and yet they're the exact same kind of design. This focus is more on green and white. This focus is more on reds and oranges. And of course, we threw some of the ribbons and the funny things. In this one, I use twigs. Sticks are wonderful. Evergreens are wonderful. You can add an evergreen to this, and it will last 2 weeks. You won't even have to put, you might want to mist it every once in a while, just give a little water, but you do not have to put water in it all the time. Well, I hope you've enjoyed these 4 designs, and I look forward to seeing you in January. Thanks.